guys, so continuing on with the project. Now we have
plowed. I can cut everything to proper length for the back structures, the top shelf, and all the. They're all going to be cut to the same length, which is 45 3/8 minus 1.5 inches. So that's going to give us 43 7/8. And then once I add the 2 3/4 inch side panels, that'll give us 45 3/8, and then we'll add the face frames, and I'll leave the cabinets the exact same size as the lower units. So 44 7/8 is the magic number. Just did that math now. I believe it's accurate. 43 7/8. 43 7/8. Because plus 1.5 inches for 2 3/4 inch pieces of plywood. 43 7/8. And I still haven't ran the T-track into this miter saw station yet. So for a stop block, what I like to do is bring the blade down to the piece of material. Make sure the blade is right on the edge of the kerf. And then for the temporary measure, I'll swing this piece around. And then I'll put some downward pressure to hold it. Double check my blade placement. Then I'll just come down here and clamp in a piece of scrap. Let me clamp something thicker than that. Just a piece of, because so grab a piece of mahogany. I'll have a mahogany stop block for this one. Top pieces. These are all going to be cut to the exact same size. The next thing we need to do is cut all the side panels, which is the rest of that material, and this piece over here. And then we actually start assembling the main carcass for the cabinet. And then dropping the back panel after that. So we need to reset up the stop block. The cabinet overall is going to be 47. Alright, so after a little bit of chopping at the miter saw, we finally have all the parts cut. We have our stretchers, we have the top sections for the cabinet, and then we have all of our side panels. The last things that we need to cut is the actual back panel itself out of the 1/4 inch plywood. You see how the stretchers actually fit right behind that dado that we cut into the plywood. And Next thing we need to do after cutting the back panels though will be actually doing all the pocket hole joinery for everything, so we can cinch everything together and go into the actual assembly process. But what we're going to do is actually clear off the table saw, then set up some insulation, the 1.5" foam insulation onto the workbench, and then get set up to cut the 1/4" plywood using my circular saw straight edge. So yet again, funny story. This is another video that we recorded a little later in the same day, and my mic, the audio just didn't come through. I'm imagining that the mic itself was off and I just started talking, so the only thing that's picking up is like the audio directly from my camera. So I have to do this voiceover. Essentially though, what I'm doing here at this point is a bunch of math. I'm trying to figure out exactly the size of the back panels, what size they need to be. So what I did was actually measure my side panel, and then I pretty much subtracted the 3/4" plywood that's going to be at the very top, so it's going to be shorter by 3/4 inch. But then I added the width or the thickness of the dado. I believe the dado was like 3/8 inch, so the only thing I did was add a 1/4 after minusing 3/4. I'm doing a 1/4 just to give it just a little bit of wiggle room at the very top. I don't really need it to bottom out, I just need it to be secured inside the dado. So after that, I can kind of lay out my next 2 or 3 cuts, and what I'm going to do is break down 2 sheets of the 1/4" plywood to give me 3 pieces, and then I can actually stack those pieces on top of each other, and that'll be for the height. And once I stack all 3 pieces on top of each other, I can then clamp them together and then rip everything to the proper width all at the same time. And also, one of the fun things is because I'm short and I built this outfeed table to be the proper height for the table saw, it's sitting at 36.5, almost 37 inches. And me being, my standard 7'4" that I am, I actually would have much rather a 34" maybe a 32" tabletop. So it's kind of hard to get all the way across a 4-foot sheet of plywood while working on this bench. So sometimes, you gotta climb on top of the material just to get your cuts across. No problems, no complaints. I have a step stool. It gets the job done. But then we have to cut the other sheet, and then we can clamp everything together to rip everything to the proper width. Don't really have much else to say about it other than putting something down on top of your workbench, either 3/4" plywood, something sacrificial just to keep you from cutting into your actual workbench, is really nice. That garage door that I built though, I had some leftover 1.5" foam board, and because it's 1.5" thick, I can kind of set my blade just a little bit deeper and not really worry about it getting anywhere near my actual tabletop. Typically I just use my 3/4" plywood as like a sacrificial runner, but 3/4" plywood, I'm cutting through 1/4" plywood here. I'll feel much more comfortable if I can actually set the blade deeper, just in case the piece isn't flat or whatever else. And knowing that I can go a little bit deeper than the material and not have to worry about it going into the workbench is a great feeling. But now that I have all 3 pieces cut, the next thing I'm going to do is actually stack them all on top of each other. And then I'm going to... Okay, that's me actually checking to make sure that everything came out square. And all the cuts have been pretty good. I do plan to make another track just like the one I did for my circular saw, and actually adding a square fence on it, so that way it's good for 90-degree cuts and make it a little bit longer than what I would need for a standard rip. So if I ever need to do angle cuts, I just have to slide it down or off of the fence just a little bit. I'm trying to figure out a way to make an adjustable fence too. It's not going to be as accurate as the TSO squares, but I think I can make a couple upgrades to the standard, circular saw straight edge that you guys see everywhere on YouTube. But alright, now we're going to clamp everything together and to the workbench itself. And then we're going to break up my T-square one more time to actually make the last reference marks for the width. And I can't remember where I pulled the measurements for it. I think I'm going to do the math and everything. Oh, never mind. I actually grabbed my top panel, lay it directly on top of the sheet, and that's going to tell me the width, and then I'll just take my tape measure to the edge and add the thickness of the dado, so another half inch to 5/8 to the actual width of the top panel, and that'll give me the width of the back panel. Try to do as little math as possible sometimes, especially in processes like this. Use your actual parts and pieces to kind of lay out everything. That way your cuts are going to be accurate versus working from a plan or what you kind of envision everything being. Because some of your cuts might have been off a 16th to 32nd, etc. So be careful as you guys go through your process. Don't get too bogged down on trying to get the exact cuts or whatever that's on your cut list. Worry about making sure that the project itself comes out square and how it's supposed to. But now we're gonna make this last rip to get everything to the final size, and because they're all clamped together, I'm able to get all 3 panels sized at the exact same time, keep everything nice and square. And then in the next video though, we're gonna start doing all the pocket holes and everything else so we can actually go into the actual assembly. But if you guys have enjoyed, let me know down in the comments. Again, check out all my other social media, being TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. They're all under New World Carpentry or New World Carpentry Solutions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.